Yeah, your first brain, your gut is
Because
your
isn't
first
the
brain.
digestive system one of the first systems that form
That's right.
in your baby?
Yeah, people call, your brain your first brain, but actually your digestive tract is formed before your brain is. And so when I'm talking to kids, I'll tell them that they were a butt before they were a brain.
I'm going to tell my son that.
The other boys really like that.
Right.
Let's talk tails.
My Tales with Taylor guest today has a tale that dates back to when she was a child in Georgia. But it was really when she became a mom over 2 decades ago that she first sought natural remedies and strived for better food choices. And it always brought her back to the same idea. Keep it simple and whole. Eating food on purpose and starting with ingredients in their whole natural state. She is the owner of Garden Goddess Ferments, helping everyone pick up the beet and have overall better gut health and a healthy lifestyle. It's Suzette Smith.
Oh, hi,
How are
Taylor.
you today?
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here.
It's my pleasure.
I would love to know the tale of your, life in Georgia growing up. What were some of those early exposures you had with gardening and really like using your hands to work?
Right. Well, my parents left the city of Jacksonville, Florida. They were really pioneers and I think seeking a more simple lifestyle. So we moved out to the country and just started from there. And we started, going to neighbors that had really large gardens and picking out of their gardens and then moving up to building our own garden. And my mom went through the canning phase and, followed into my grandparents', rituals of gardening and canning our own food and making our own butter. It's just all of those different experiences gave me that opportunity to see what, where real food came from.
Yeah, that's amazing. I only had tomato plants growing up. We just
Right.
had on our little patio some tomato plants. That was the extent of my experience.
Oh, we tried everything.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a sugar cane crop one time where we grew our own sugar cane and just rows and rows of all different types of vegetables.
That's amazing.
You would think we were feeding half the town for a family of 4.
What was your favorite crop to grow and why?
I think, oh my goodness, that's a great question. I was going to say tomatoes because I'm seeing tomatoes all over my friend's Facebook page that are still in Georgia and they look so yummy. You can't get a good tomato like we grew up with these days. So I'm going to say tomatoes.
I know, just that juicy right off of the
flavor
crop.
of it is so intense that we just don't get that in the store.
So true. I know the second you pick it off, it's just losing its flavor every moment. That's so true.
That's right.
So tell me the tale that brought you to Garden Goddess Ferments. Why? You could be doing anything, but yet you're like, what? Fermented foods. Yes.
Well, I was, desperately seeking Suzette, looking for an opportunity, looking for something that would, fill my, my time and my wallet. I was, not really a career type person, working for a job. I wanted to be a mom. And my kids were growing up. I raised them as a single parent. And so that was running short, and I got into selling supplements through different direct sales companies. Okay. And really through those companies, I started learning about nutritional supplements, how the body really functions on nutrition with supplement, how our food is grown in the United States, 20 and 30 years ago. And that was a very eye-opening experience. I married an Australian, and when my first trip to Australia, I visited an iridologist, and she looked in my iris and told me things that only nobody would know. Like I broke my collarbone. She goes, "I see you broke your collarbone," and I broke my collarbone when I was 4. And I'm sitting 30 years old, sitting in her chair, and she's telling me what's going on in my body. My son at the time was having chronic ear infections, and I told her about that, and she's like, "Put garlic in his ears." And I went home and started putting garlic in his ears, and it started clearing up.
Wow.
So at that point, I was sold on food as medicine. And then you fast forward 20 years, like I said, they were growing up, and I needed something to fill my time and my pocket. And I was studying gut health and detoxification, and we would run these classes through the company I was with on how to detox the body, how to go buy food, real food, which is, it's amazing to me that people out there don't even know what a head of broccoli looks like.
Gosh, I know.
Children, or can't identify a particular vegetable. And so I gained a lot of knowledge out of that time, and ran across this article that was about fermented foods and how it was beneficial to the gut. And so I'm reading the recipe, and it's cabbage, and you shred up the cabbage and you add some salt, and you might add some other spices. And I'm thinking, this sounds like maybe sauerkraut. So I wasn't really sure, but I made it anyway, and it stunk up the whole apartment. My son was so mad at me. And it was sauerkraut. And I was fascinated with how beneficial it was for the microbiome, because that's what I was teaching people. Your gut is really your first brain, in my opinion. I started sharing it, and people were loving it. It was yummy, and it made them feel better. So I, started the company. I ran across a friend that she wanted to start a company. So she had the time. She had the money, and I had the time.
There you go. Put your powers together.
And she quickly discovered that it really wasn't something she wanted to continue to pursue.
Yeah, unless you have a passion for it, starting a business is no small feat. And so you need to, really have that passion for the product. And, I could just tell from talking to you, you had a passion about the product, regardless if it was going to make you money or not. You knew it was helping your family.
I knew that, it was really from that, the excitement that I was getting from people that really made me feel like I've got something here. We took it to a small farmer's market in Central Phoenix. And my first market, I sold 9 jars of sauerkraut. I had no idea about food manufacturing. We were in a commercial kitchen from the very get-go. Everything was such a new experience for me, but it was truly hard work, in the beginning. It's hard work now, but I have a great team around me.
That's excellent. So that was the Power Kraut, right? The Power Kraut was your first?
Yes, that was our flagship product. And just combing through the internet, I did find one gal out there that was really promoting fermented foods and sauerkraut, kefir, which is a fermented dairy, things that you never heard of 12 years ago, 10 years ago, and fascinated with her. So through her recipes, I was able to formulate my own recipe called Power Kraut. And I call it Power Kraut because I wanted to make the most powerful food in the world. I'm a go big or go home kind of girl. And I put garlic, turmeric, and ginger in it. Those were the strongest herbs that I could come up with that might complement each other. And it's one of our top flavors still today.
Excellent. And I'd say one of your other top products is this Beet Kvass right here.
Yes.
I know I find it absolutely delicious, and I do love beets, so that has helped. So tell me a little bit about the tale of discovering your Beet Kvass, and then I would love for you to pour and show us how much do we have to drink. This is a pretty big bottle. How much of this do I need to drink a day?
Well, believe it or not, people are asking me if I'm going to make a bigger bottle. And I'm like, no, no, you'll just have to buy more of these.
Yes.
So,
would you have great deals online, especially if people sign up for your newsletter? I know every month Suzette will post out a newsletter where you can get extra discounts. So, make sure you sign up for that newsletter. We'll have a link to it in the show notes.
Sure. Yeah, so the Beet Kvass, once I started with the sauerkraut, then I started hitting every fermentation festival that I could find, in our area in the Southwest. And I was at a farmer's market in California, and I ran across a booth that sold sauerkraut too. So I was so excited to talk to them. And they had this Beet Kvass, and I'm like, what is that? And she's like, I don't sample it. She didn't want to sample it. And we just bought it. So I just bought a bottle. And I didn't think it tasted bad. You know, I quite enjoyed it. And then I looked at the history of it. And beets were not really popular back then. This, again, was 10 years ago. Or maybe they were just coming out to the forefront. Doing the history with it, I started making it at the kitchen. And I would take it to the farmer's market and just pour it from there if somebody wanted beet, because I knew nothing about it. Nobody had any information out there about Beet Kvass. And we just really went from there, and we started getting reviews and testimonials about the Beet Kvass. And that's really where we founded our suggested pour, how much to drink, what is enough to get results for people. And really an ounce has done amazing things for people on just an ounce of Beet Kvass.
Do you mind pouring that and
No,
seeing
not
really
at
what
all.
that would look like for people who maybe aren't, so keen on measurements?
Yeah, so it's a shot.
It's a shot. So that's why you could just take your shot a day.
Yeah.
And potentially keep some doctors away.
So honestly, this is about an ounce.
Like, look at that color. Do you see?
Isn't it beautiful? I just love
That is such a gorgeous color right there. Such
Cheers.
a beautiful. Cheers.
Yeah, 1 ounce a day. It's earthy, it's salty, and it's sour.
But
So, Kvass I found dated to the mid 5th century in Turkey, and it means sour vegetable. So I often get, Europeans come over to the market or whatever, and they, I grew up on this, or my grandmother made this. It feels so good to have it back. And another popular beet, Kvass type is borscht. People will compare it to borscht.
yeah. So tell me, what is it about fermented foods makes it so good for your gut?
Well, it's all about the bacteria. So you've heard of your microbiome, right? And really
Which I feel like it's only became aware,
Yeah. Nobody
It's something
was
that we've
saying
had
that.
forever, but
Right.
we've only recently been talking about it.
Your first brain, your gut is
Because
your
isn't the
first brain.
digestive system one of the first systems that form
That's right.
your baby?
Yeah, people call, your brain your first brain, but actually your digestive tract is formed before your brain is. And so when I'm talking to kids, I'll tell them that they were a butt before they were a brain.
I'm going to tell my son that.
The other boys really like that.
Right.
So your digestive tract is formed, and that's the beginning of life for you. And so your microbiome is really just a sack of about 3 to 5 pounds of bacteria. It's like a whole little colony of different forms of bacteria. And that really it runs your serotonin, it runs your nervous system, it runs your immune system, your sleep. I mean, everything really is derived from your gut. So when they say you are what you eat, you really are.
Wow.
You really are.
That's amazing. I know for myself, having that, it's just helped me stay more regular with things.
Yeah.
And, and it truly does taste great. And I've even seen in some reviews when people say they don't even like beets, but they like this because they love the benefits.
Well,
what are some of the reviews and benefits that you've seen people talk about?
Well, the most impactful, I don't want to say the most impactful one, but the first review that I got that really floored me, there was a gal coming through the farmer's market. She was a nutritionist by trade. And then again, this was 10 years ago. And she sent a bottle to her mentor who lived up in Alaska. And it's an older gentleman in his 80s. And he was going through radiation treatments for prostate cancer. And we didn't know anything. We weren't suggesting an ounce a day. You were just, here's your Kvass, just drink a little bit. You know? So he got relief off of a tablespoon.
Wow.
Of Beet Kvass. And the relief that I'm talking about is he would get side effects from radiation. Apparently you get real itchy skin or something, and that went away.
Wow.
For him off of a tablespoon a day.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
So, and yet people, just to think about what was just said, people want even a bigger bottle, and
Yes,
yet you only
I
need
know,
a
I know.
tablespoon or an ounce
You only
a
need
day.
a couple of ounces. We do have health practitioners that prescribe the Beet Kvass to
Wow.
their patients, and they'll tell them to drink more or whatever.
Mhm.
But really, I remember a little boy came to the market one time, and he tried it, and he's like, "Mom, I want this." And I mean, he was 5 or 6 years
Aw.
old. So she bought him a bottle, and you could not get the sticker off fast enough for him, and he just turned it up and like gulped it. It's like his body was like, just give me more, you know. And she finally said, "That's enough." you know.
Right.
Had the big purple poopers.
I'm about to say, I was like, is there a toilet nearby?
Right. So it's just been a trial and error kind of thing where, you know, we go off of what people come by and testimony with us. You know, this is the experience that they've had. So we've had cancer patients, liver patients with cirrhosis that are getting great results on their blood work's coming back. They're more positive than it was before. So we're just really excited to be part of that side of the food industry.
Definitely. I've also seen too, it's helped people with their blood pressure, cut sugar cravings.
That's right.
So lots of benefits for people. And how long does it take to ferment and create a beet kvass? How long are the beets actually fermenting?
Yeah, so in our particular space, we ferment them for at least 3 weeks, but oftentimes the crock sits longer, from anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. You know, so we use a lot of beets. We just cut our beets up, put them in a saltwater brine, and cut the air off. And that's the most important. When you're fermenting anything, whether it's cabbage or beets or carrots, you know, fermentation process needs no air.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then what is really the difference between fermenting and pickling?
So all fermented foods are pickled, but not all pickled foods are fermented.
Okay.
And pickled foods are made shelf stable by putting them in a vinegar-based brine. And that vinegar will kill the bacteria
Okay.
to make it shelf stable. You know, and so when you ferment a vegetable, we use that bacteria, and it creates unique probiotics that you can't just duplicate in a pill form or a Petri dish. It's a very unique process for the vegetable. That process creates its own set of bacterias. It also takes the sugar out of the vegetable. That's why it's so sour. It's not sweet. People, you know, if I don't tell them that this beet juice is going to be sour, they're going to expect a sweet,
yeah.
because beets are typically sweet, right? So the fermentation process takes that sugar out and just really makes it more better. So I like to say everything the beet does, the fermented beet does better, because there's oxalates in vegetables that people are allergic to, the sugar in the vegetable, or whatever these things are that might take your body a little bit more energy to digest. This helps it go straight to the bloodstream and straight to work on doing what it needs to do in your body.
So for people who are looking for, a sauerkraut for the probiotic benefits,
If they're just at a general grocery store, if they see that sauerkraut just hanging on a regular shelf, you're telling me that, likely there's not healthy bacteria in there. You're not going to be getting all the benefits. When you pop open one of your krauts, you could see them dancing. You
Yes.
literally there's a party happening in
Yes.
the jar. So are you telling me that if someone
right.
is looking for those probiotic benefits, there needs to be a party happening in the jar for it to actually be working?
Yeah, that's one indication. I mean, unfortunately, our food labeling requirements allow a lot of variances. And for instance, one label that I'm thinking of right now is a very popular label throughout the United States on the shelf in the refrigerated section. That's one way to tell. Does it need to be refrigerated, or is it on the shelf?
Okay.
So being in the refrigerator is a sign, but they're allowed to say that it's raw and that it's fermented. But when you go on their website and dig a couple of layers deep, then you find out it's lightly pasteurized. And I understand why they do that when you're in a national situation like that, where you're distributing nationally.
The shipping and
the shipping of it. If one bottle leaks, one jar leaks, then the store can send the whole pallet or the whole order back, and that's a lot of money, and there's no reason to. But we've become a society of perfect. Everything's got to be perfect. So that's one of the reasons I don't take my sauerkrauts to the national distribution level like I have with the Beet Kvass, because it's a messy business.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And it is a shame that we do have a culture of just throw away.
Right.
I know one of the places that I get a lot of produce, I'm going to do a shout out to Borderland Food Bank.
Oh, I love Borderlands.
They always are rescuing food. And my goodness, I say that's how I eat. I freeze.
Yeah.
I do what I can with all of that great produce.
Yeah, I know. I love Borderlands. In fact, we pick up, I'll pick up a box and share it with a friend. And even that's a ton of stuff.
I know.
But we can ferment all of that stuff. It doesn't matter if it's organic or not, because the fermentation process can consume a lot of those pesticides that are in the vegetables. So that's not of real big importance for me at my home, fermenting. This time of year, when you go to Borderlands, you'll get a ton of tomatoes. Yeah. You can guarantee you're going to get a ton of tomatoes. So we make fermented salsa.
Okay.
And I can freeze it or ferment the tomatoes in some way. Instead of canning them, I ferment them.
Interesting. I've never tried that. I've done a ton of canning of salsas and tomato sauces, because you're right? If it's the summertime, you tend to get a ton of tomatoes. But for anyone in Arizona, I'll put a link in the show notes too for Borderland Food Bank. I absolutely love them. I've learned about so many more. I had no idea about half of the squashes I get in the winter. I had no idea about when I first started going to them.
Yeah.
So,
No, Borderlands is great. They're a great resource to have, and we're lucky to have it. But it's also an indication of, why we've become such a perfect society. Our food has to be perfect. And it's a shame because there's so much food getting thrown away.
Yeah, food's perfect if it tastes good, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's good for you. If
That's
it looks a little weird, if I have to cut off a little inch at the end of it, who cares?
That's right. That's right.
That's why I do miss having chickens, because it used to be the best to just give them all those kind of rough looking scraps.
Right.
And so, those are so good.
Well, you want food that bugs are on or that might catch a little bit of mold. I've bought tomatoes from the grocery store, and they've sat on my counter literally for 2 months.
Oh, wow.
And nothing happens to them.
Oh, well, that's not
Nothing
right.
happens. So that's right there telling me that
there's something wrong.
There's something going on. It's a total GMO. I don't even know if fermentation could fix that, but you want foods that have imperfections or bug bites on it, because if a bug will eat it, then it's better for you.
That's a good thing. It's just when I think about camping, I knew one of the first things I learned is if a bird doesn't eat it, don't eat it.
That's right.
And so it's look at nature, see what they are attracted to, because that means it's good. I know I'm always fighting birds off to get my peaches before they do.
Oh, yes. Yes. And you can ferment peaches too.
Oh, wow. You can ferment almost anything. It sounds
you can ferment anything.
I think it's fascinating, though, that you said, and I think it's so fascinating, I want to repeat it, that you said even non-organic foods you can ferment, and that it will naturally eat away the pesticides.
Yes.
That is fascinating.
Yeah, so don't be afraid. One of my favorite ferments to do at home is the BC and dill, and I think we're going to have a class coming up soon to make that. But you don't have to buy organic.
Yeah.
So it's really can be accessible to anybody that has the desire, to ferment at home. Don't let the organic part scare you away.
That's good. That's really good to know. That's why I thought it needed to be repeated again.
Right.
And so we have our sauerkraut. We have our Beet Kvass. What do we do if we have extra sauerkraut?
Oh my goodness. So that was a really big heart jerker for me, because we're still in farmers markets. We love to be in part of the community. We send out these sample jars so everybody can try before they buy at the markets.
Which is so nice.
And that's a great chance, an opportunity. So go to your local farmers markets to get your food. We were sampling, and not everybody wants to sample everything or try everything. So we'd get in 3/4 or almost full jars back at the kitchen, and it was time to rotate it out. And so I'm throwing away the sauerkraut, and I was like, this is just too much waste.
Yeah.
And I came up with the idea to make a kraut jerky. So we have dehydrated sauerkraut, and it comes in a little canister, and it's just a fun little snack. It's light, so travels very well, and we dehydrate it on a very low temperature so it can maintain the probiotic energy in there to keep that going for your gut.
Excellent. So it looks like for every kraut flavor you have, you are able to easily make a jerky flavor to go with it.
That's right.
And so at the moment, what are your 4 flavors that you have right now? And tell me a little tale behind how you came up with them.
Right. So, of course, we talked about the Power Krauts,
Yes.
my flagship product. The Cowboy Kraut is our next, it's our bestseller, probably even more so over the Power. And when I started this business, I was basically working 3 jobs. So I would work in the kitchen and prepare for our upcoming farmers markets. I would drive for Uber, early in the morning after my son went to school, or in the evenings when he was visiting his dad. And then I picked up a side gig as a hostess at a cowboy bar in Scottsdale called Handlebar Jay's. And they came to me and said, we used to serve sauerkraut on the table like people put chips down or popcorn down now. They used to do sauerkraut back in the day, and they wanted to bring that back. And so I said, okay, let me see your recipe. And they gave me the recipe, and it was, like these 2 large cans of sauerkraut and, sugar and da-da-da-da-da. And I was like, wow. And it only lasted 3 days, because nothing in there was, fermented or real. It was all pasteurized and so forth. So I just kind of took, the best of their recipe and got creative with it and created the Cowboy Kraut.
And so what are some of the ingredients in Cowboy now?
So it's loaded with vegetables. It's a green cabbage based, and it has celery, purple onions, red bell peppers, green chilies, garlic, cumin seeds, and peppercorns. So a lot of flavor in there. It really has no heat to it. It's a poblano chili. We use purple onions, and ironically, the fermentation process takes the color out of the purple onion. You would never know there's purple onion in it.
There's no purple in it, unlike the Power Kraut where you can still see the purple cabbage.
Right.
The purple onion's completely gone.
It's gone. But I feel like I like the color, and any vegetable that has that color has extra nutrients or something special about it. So I really like the purple color on that. So we stick with the purple onions, and it has a cumin finish to it. So being in the Southwest here, that really goes along with our community to put on tacos. I mean, everybody's eating tacos around here, right? Or burritos, or eggs, or avocado toast, or
topping on a quesadilla.
Yeah, it's just a great flavor, and like I said, it's our top flavor. We did a fruit mix in the beginning, and I would start with strawberries and then do blueberry, whatever was in season. And I couldn't keep up with that, couldn't keep it going. So after the season was gone, then we didn't have that available to us. So we settled with apples because I can get apples more easily throughout the year, and just use that recipe to have a bit of a fruit and a light, because people will come to me and say, what's your plainest sauerkraut? And I'm like, there is nothing about me that's plain. And so that's a more mild, but ironically the apple horse has horseradish in it.
Oh, okay.
And so all
It's
of
a
our
strong flavor.
Ingredients are intentional. They have purpose for their place in the kraut. So horseradish is really good for your heart, and you would never know there's horseradish in there because the fermentation process takes the spice out. But, yeah, you can turn over the jar and you'll easily find big chunks of horseradish in there. When we make it at the kitchen, it just kind of blows we have to leave for a little while and air out because it's so strong.
All your senses.
Yeah, it is. But that's a a lot of fun. The apple horse, it's a nice mild flavor. And then the dilly hot is an effort to bring something spicy because we like spice. We want that kick. And there again, the fermentation process tends to take the heat out of things. So we just throw in loads and loads of peppers. And sometimes it gets spicy, but most of the time I tell people don't get too excited that it's going to be like this really strong heat. It's more of a finish, but you do get that nice pepper finish to it.
Nice.
So those are all of our flavors. Yeah.
So delicious looking. And just, I love that there is that variety of, a little bit of spice, okay, a little bit of mild, you really made sure you were hitting all the palates for people.
Yeah, we try to. And it's really interesting to work the farmer's market and see what people are drawn to and attracted to. Because what I think is the best, they're like, no, I don't like that one. And, they like another one.
Well, it's just like everyone's different. Some people only need a tablespoon of, Beet Kvass. Some people want, the full 2 ounces. Or I've even read, in some of your reviews where people say they're even having more than that. So,
oh, yes. Yes. I had someone call me and say that they drank the whole bottle of the 16 ounce. And I was like, you did?
In one sitting, in one day?
Yeah, he said he just downed it.
Wow.
And I did that to a bottle of kraut juice, which we get every now and then. But when I first started producing, I drank a whole bottle of kraut juice, and I was in bed for 2 days after that because it just totally threw me into a detox. Okay, so I thought that might happen with the Beet Kvass. He's like, no, everything was fine. I felt great.
Well, every person's different too, and it's one of those things where maybe his body said more, please, just like the boy you were talking about.
Right.
I think about when we were pregnant, we didn't. Your body said, I want more protein. I want more this. I want more that, and then you ended up having that craving and getting it. So
that's right.
That is excellent. So one thing that I'm having a bit of a disconnect on is, tell me the tale. How did you go from Georgia to Arizona?
Oh my goodness. We need an overnight bag for that story. I was living in Atlanta. I grew up in Georgia and had just come from New Orleans. I'd been in New Orleans for a few years, and that's where I had my first son. And we moved back to Atlanta, and I got set up on a blind date with an Australian guy.
Okay.
And so we ended up getting married, moving to Australia. And that was just a really great opportunity and a very special time. My youngest son was born in Australia, and I learned a lot living there. 25 years ago, Australia was almost like the United States back in the 50s. So it was really a unique opportunity to experience that. And we came back over here and ended up in Scottsdale and just being gypsies, gypsies. And shortly after that, we split ways. And I decided I wanted to stay here. I really like the desert. I like the culture here and the weather.
Yeah.
Not right now, but
hey, that's the reason why I moved here too. I had never visited Arizona prior to choosing Arizona. I just said, where can I afford?
Right.
And, where's a place that is not cold, not humid, that doesn't, that I could plan to see snow. So it wasn't like I wanted to move necessarily to, an island where I wouldn't be able to ever see snow or ever see seasons.
Right.
That's the beauty.
Or you have to get on a plane to get somewhere.
Yeah. And so that's where I find the beauty of Arizona is that we get that nice blend of, being able to have the best weather, but then being able to strategically say, okay, July, August, you're a little too hot. Let me go up north for a little bit. So it is nice that we can truly get away and get to anywhere. I think Arizona is a nice, sweet spot.
It is. It's a great spot. And I travel a lot. I'm on the road a lot, going through the desert, go down to Mexico. And there's just these beautiful spots where it just takes your breath away, and I have friends that come visit. All I see is brown. Well, that's all I saw when I first moved here. I remember landing in Phoenix, and we're driving through Scottsdale, and it's like, gosh, it's so brown. Growing up in Georgia, it's very green, and you have fall changes and stuff. But I have really come to appreciate and admire the beauty of the desert. And it's just gorgeous. I'm going to Mexico last weekend. You come over this hill and it's like a whole saguaro forest, and there's different layers to it and different types of cacti. And it's really beautiful. And I really love being on this side of the country.
I do too. I really do too. It is beautiful. beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, a lot of the guests that are watching this podcast are fellow business owners and entrepreneurs. What would be one tip you would give to someone who's looking to get into the food industry? Maybe they have their own product that they're looking to promote. What would be a tip you would give to them?
So, really having a passion for your food, and not giving up. Mm-hmm. There's some hard times. I can remember being on my feet for so long and just wanting to cry because, it's it hurts so bad, but not giving up and keeping your passion. Mm-hmm. Don't let naysayers run you off. Mm-hmm. I've had people that tell me this is not going to work. You're not making enough money. And they're probably still telling me I'm not making enough money, but I know in my heart, this is where I need to be. Yeah. And it's finding your niche. Mm-hmm. Just like you, I met you 9 years ago. Yeah. I mean, way back in the beginning, and y'all were just starting out, and look how far you've come. You're pretty impressive.
Well, thank you so much. But it is true. It's having a passion and staying persistent. Mm-hmm. And then also, make sure you have your own yardstick to measure what success is. Because those people who say, oh, you're not making enough money. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe their measurement of success is I need to be making, 8 figures. I need to have a team that's running everything. I need to not even be in the kitchen. And that's their yardstick of success versus, others. Like, I still really enjoy interacting with people and being a part of it. Like, I feel like you do too, where then your yardstick of success is a little different, It
is. I'm very glad I'm at the last, quarter or last half of my life, to where a lot of things that might have been important to me younger aren't that important to me now, mm-hmm. like, I don't know. It's just different. You have a different perspective now. And so, for me, it's being able to support myself and support the people that work for me and making sure that we have a safe place and a very fruitful place. And, I share with the kids at the kitchen, how important our product is for people. Yeah. And I think that really motivates them too.
Do your sons work in the business at all, or are they done with smelling the fermented?
Yeah, they have both been in and out at different capacities, mm-hmm. But they're off doing their own thing now, and I think that's good.
That is good.
Yeah.
And so, if someone was looking to get into a farmer's market, because I know that you operate on farmers markets mm-hmm. in addition to selling online, what would be some tips into getting in or choosing a farmer's market to participate with?
Yeah, so you want to be local. You want to have something that's locally made. A lot of farmers markets will only take you if you're locally making something, that's your first criteria, right? A lot of farmers markets won't take on many vendors of the same product.
Right, almost like network marketing or having like a networking group. You need to have that one industry or that one person in that industry. Okay.
That's right. So having something unique that makes your product stand out. Mm-hmm. And just don't give up. You have to talk to people. You have to, I worked a farmer's market this past Saturday, and, there are people walk by and would look at my booth, but if I didn't reach out to them and offer them a sample or say, good morning, would you like to try? They would have never stopped.
Right.
A lot of sales are made for people that have gone past my booth that, we're still connecting with. Mm-hmm. So really connect with your customer. All the farmers market managers out there are golden. They work hard. And I would say really talk to your people about getting to a farmer's market to shop. Okay. Somebody asked me about do you get this at the grocery store? I don't go to the grocery store to get food. I really try to go outside. I get, local meats or farmers vegetables at the farmer's market. You find that they last longer mm-hmm. and they're locally grown. So if they're locally grown, then they're going to have local bacteria, which is only going to boost your immune system so then it becomes a win-win for you and the farmer.
Excellent. I love all those tips. Sound really good. So tell me a tale. What's your favorite tale that you've ever read or heard? So what's your favorite book or movie?
Oh, my goodness. Well, the first movie that comes to mind is A Star is Born with Barbara Streisand.
Okay, the original one.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't been to a movie in so long. And the book I'm reading, a Mel Robbins book right now, Let Them, which I really like because it brings accountability back to you. You know, that you have control over your life and you have control how you show up. And, you know, it's easy to, you know, start bringing other things in or pointing a finger or whatever, that if only. This really drives it down to where your success and your happiness is in your own hands.
Excellent. It sounds somewhat similar to a book I recently finished. It was Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink. So he was an ex-Navy SEAL, about, you know, managing, you know, Marines in the war of Iraq, but then ties it into leadership and business. And things. Yeah.
Another one I will say that I've started reading, but I got to pick it back up, is Profit First for business owners.
Yeah.
And that really, my girlfriend she's a business owner, turned me on to it. And it talks about paying yourself first. You know, even if it's a percentage, you know, and he has a clear formula for you you've got, you know, 6 envelopes, so to speak, or whatever, 6 envelopes. And this goes for this, this, and this. And if you stick with that, you will become profitable.
Definitely. You know, you just like putting on your own oxygen mask first. You definitely need to work on paying yourself first. Actually make yourself an employee, because you are one working your butt off in your business.
Right.
So that is.
Yeah, I was at a place a few years ago where I was making some changes in my life, and I didn't know how I was going to afford it. You know, and then I turned my mindset around and started putting, you know, because if I'm not going, then the business isn't going.
Right.
You know, if I'm not surviving, the business isn't surviving.
Totally. Yeah. No, and mindset's so important.
It really is.
It's all about how you think about a situation. You know,
you can be your biggest enemy or your biggest fan.
Definitely. Yeah. So let's be our biggest fans.
That's
right.
Let's
like, you know, give ourselves a little bit of grace. Let's give ourselves a little bit of money. Let's give ourselves what we deserve.
You know, I tell my kids, you can only win when you help other people win. And it truly is. I mean, it's so rewarding to have people come and appreciate what we make and how we change people's lives, whether it's the food that we make or the opportunity that we offer.
Yeah.
You know, it's you only win when you help others win.
Most definitely. I love that. So tell me, what's your favorite animal with a tail?
Animal. Well, I like dogs. I just don't have any. I'm a lion.
Lion, okay.
Yay. I'm a Leo.
Big cats.
So,
yes.
Yeah, I'm a lion.
Nice.
At heart, I'm a ferocious.
Okay, this makes a lot more sense too. Yeah, because you are just very determined. You're full of energy. Yep. You're a leader. Okay, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think I'm a lion.
You definitely are. Yeah. No, and if you're a Leo, then you're definitely
right.
a lion. That is excellent. Lovely. And it's a big cat, so I definitely approve.
With
anything team cat.
Awesome.
Excellent. So as we're kind of coming to the close, one thing I want to know too is, you know, what's one tale you wish you would have told your younger self? And this could have been, you know, in Georgia, Suzette, or this could be, you know, year 1 in business, Suzette. What's one tale you wish you would have told yourself more?
You can do anything that you want to do.
And would that have been in the first year of business or just young?
Just in life in general, you know, you can be whatever you want to be. You can do, you know, you're smart enough, you're motivated enough. You can do whatever you want to do. Be whoever you want to be. You don't need anyone else to pull you along.
Now, if you have the passion and the desire, then yeah, you really can do anything that you want. Even, you know, re-educate people on something that's been happening for thousands and thousands of years. Like, I feel like you are truly re-educating people about fermentation and probiotic. You know, I feel gut health has been a bit of a buzz phrase recently, but it's still not in the forefront of nutrition in the eyes of, you know, it's not necessarily in the food pyramid. When you think of a food pyramid per se.
Right.
There's still a lot of education you're giving.
There really is. And I'm super excited that fermentation is coming, you know, back to people are talking about it and interested in it, and sour, because we're consumed with sugar, and sugar is just a deadly drug.
They say sugar's the new smoking. Right?
It's worse, I think, than that. So and then the beets, beets are all of a sudden, I do beets. Well, beets are great. Fermented beets are better.
Yeah.
So I just feel like I've been graced to be at the right place at the right time. And I'm glad I've got this time behind me. So I've got this experience so I can really make a bigger difference now as people start to waken up to the importance of food. And then furthermore, the importance of fermented foods.
And the importance of taking control of your own health.
That's right.
I think a lot more people now are realizing that maybe the medical industries and the doctors aren't so much on our side.
Don't get me started on that.
And that, really what is on our side is our own health. And knowing what we need individually and then seeking out quality companies like yourself where you're going to get, quality ingredients and quality food. Because at the end of the day, like you said, you are what you eat. And if you're eating bad food, you're giving your organs bad, nutrients.
Well, and understanding the marketing of our food system too. So many people, when I used to do these detox classes and how to shop at a grocery store class, people would say, but I eat healthy. And then you open up their closet, their pantry, and it's like,
and the
all
pantry's
these boxes,
stuffed with pantry stuff.
And
then you open the fridge. The crisper's empty.
But to their defense, on the label, it's 100% good for you, healthy, 100% healthy. All these vitamins and minerals and stuff like that, and it's really just crap. And so now I say, just don't eat anything that comes in a box.
Yeah, well, they always say shop on the outskirts, right? Shop on the outer limits of the grocery store, if you're going to a grocery store. But of course, there's plenty of great farmers markets that you can look up, or organizations, again, like Borderlands, yes, to get some quality produce. But it's also then having a plan. And so having a plan, are you going to ferment? Are you going to can? If you do something like a Borderland, you need to have a plan.
Sure. What is it? 70 pounds,
I want to say.
70 pounds of food for like $15.
Yep.
Yeah. So a plan is very good.
Yes, a plan is needed.
For that because you never know what you're going to get.
No.
It's surprise, and you don't get to say, oh, I want that, I don't want that, or anything. You just got to take it.
Well, especially since COVID. I remember pre-COVID, you would have to stand in a forever line to then go down the pack, and then they say, oh, you're allowed up to, 4, zucchinis, 8 honeydews or whatever it might be. And I remember there were times where I'm like, I'm just going to take 4. I'm just going to take this.
Right.
But now, ever since COVID, it's just they drop the box in your car.
Oh, yeah. It's a moving line. And I mean, you don't even really stop your car. You just kind of slow down and they throw it in there. And then you
go home and you're like, what did I get today? Right. And then you're like, okay, 50 pounds of tomatoes.
I know. It's crazy.
But I'm very grateful for that opportunity still. So
we're lucky to have that. And I encourage more and more people to, go out there and see that, because it's a semi truckload of food that has to be given out. So
it's impressive. And I do love just sharing it with friends and neighbors. Hey, anyone need tomatoes?
Right. Yeah. Right. And then farmers markets. Farmers markets are a great way, to get your allergies down. If you have food allergies, but just seasonal allergies, you're getting local soil bacteria, which helps feed that microbiome.
Yeah, especially if you're new somewhere. I know myself, I'm not originally from Arizona. And so having, natural honey from here to, have the bees and, what they have, the bacteria and so forth. You're so right. The water, the soil, everything. It really makes a difference to be used to your native, habitat.
That's right. I love the fact that we're a state that offers raw milk too. So that's a huge plus for us. And we actually have a couple of dairies in the state that offer raw milk. And I love that because I can tell when I drink pasteurized milk, I immediately start getting congested and phlegmy kind of, but it doesn't happen.
I haven't had milk in so long. I might need to try some raw milk.
Yeah, raw milk is good. I was getting the raw cream and, just getting a little bit whiter and because I had a little coffee with my cream. It's so yummy. So I have to limit myself on the cream.
God, it's something I'll have to keep in mind then too. Like, I might love it a little too much.
I know, it's easy to do.
Yeah, no, Arizona is definitely a beautiful state. I was shocked, moving here, seeing that there were still dairy cows, that there were, farmers and, of all sizes really.
We've got some great farms here.
Yeah, no, it is very impressive, but people should definitely be picking up the beet every day.
Yes,
they should stay connected with all the amazing things that you're doing. Like I had mentioned, in the show notes, we'll make sure to include a link to sign up for the newsletter. I know your newsletter always has links to your past blogs, great information, reviews, and then also exclusive discounts. And so you even do have a try before you buy opportunity.
We do.
Tell me a little about that.
You get 2 2-ounce bottles. So you can take.
So that's like 4 days worth.
That's 4 days worth if you can keep it to an ounce. So a lot of people like to just chug the whole thing, but it gives you an opportunity to try it. And oftentimes people feel a difference right away. If you're really in tune with your body, like energy, or if you've got an upset stomach, indigestion, the Beet Kvass can eliminate indigestion almost immediately.
Wow. And is this safe for even pregnant women too?
Oh, absolutely.
I can imagine it would help them stay regular. And
well, I was at the hospital the other day doing a pop-up. I got invited to one of the hospitals here in town, and a pregnant girl was like, is this good for my baby? I'm like, absolutely, it's good for your baby. And then I saw her checking out in line, and she had a big pile of onion rings, fried onion rings. I was like, don't be worried about the Beet Kvass, be worried about the onion
fried
rings.
Yeah.
So that tells me right there where our mindset is. We're afraid of real food, but go to this toxic food that's what's making us sick is where we're drawn to, because that's what we've been marketed to and taught over the last 3 generations. If you think that's when processed food started, was back in the 70s. Well, I was half grown by then, not quite, but
not even close. Look how gorgeous she is. Not even. She's a baby. Maybe.
Right. So I used to say, it's taken us 3 generations to get in this mess. I mean, I'm sitting in the airport listening to young men talk behind me. He just got out of the hospital because he had a heart attack. 30-year-olds should not be having heart attacks. And all the sickness that we have in our young people. So I really feel like if we were to draw a line in the sand, which it's coming, I think the line's getting there, it might take another 3 generations to get us out of this mess and get us out of this sickness. So it really takes everybody on an individual basis to be super in tune with their own health and be your own advocate, do your own research and find what resonates with you. But real food is medicine.
Yeah. No, and you have the power. Like consumers, we really do have the power if we work together to really change the markets by showing, we're done with these processed food. We're done with these packages.
Yes.
Just whole foods all the way.
I saw a video of a young lady on TikTok, and she gets on and she's like, dude, I just moved to Germany 6 months ago, and I eat the same crap food that I did in the United States. And she opens up her pantry and her freezer, and you see all the box foods, the fried fish sticks, and da-da-da-da-da. She goes, but I've lost 25 pounds.
Oh, wow.
And it's because they don't allow the ingredients in their food supply that they allow here. So hopefully that's changing for us as well. I see on different news articles that companies are going to be eliminating food dyes and certain ingredients in their food.
Yeah.
But
also reading the ingredients, and if you don't understand what one of the ingredients is, maybe you put it down and choose something where you can actually understand everything. Like all of your ingredients, I know exactly, what that ingredient is. I can picture that ingredient in my mind in its full form. And so, that's super important.
When I used to take, my son was younger, and I'd take him to the grocery store, he'd like, can we get this? Can we get that? And I was like, okay, tell me, read the ingredients and tell me what they are. So he'd say, forget it, never mind. And then he would say, can we get that? And he'd see me pick it up and start to turn it around. And he'd go, never mind. Like he already knew. So yeah, it's important that we understand what these ingredients are and understand how they affect our body.
Yeah. I completely agree. So in addition to, your newsletter, how should people stay connected with you?
Follow us on social media, and I'm always a phone call away. I've had phone calls at 5 o'clock in the morning, and somebody
don't do that to her.
Right, please. But one gal that stands out, she's like, I just ran out of my beet juice and I'll meet you anywhere after work. I get off work at 5 and I'm in New York City. Can you meet me somewhere? And I'm in Phoenix.
Oh my goodness.
Even if I left right now, I wouldn't be able to get to you after work, but we can ship you.
Yes.
So I'm available by phone. I answer my phone all the time, and you can shoot me an email any way that, suits you.
Excellent. So social media, the newsletter, make sure you go to gardengoddessferments.com or pickupthebeet.com in order to see the full website. And you're also in stores. And so on the bottom of the show notes, we'll also include a list of the current states and stores that you can find this amazing product at. Yeah. So the Beet Kvass is definitely something that I absolutely love. I feel like I should experiment more with the krauts and the jerkies.
Yeah.
And just thank you so much for everything that you do and helping us just become a healthier culture.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. So pick up the beet, everyone.
Thank you for watching Tales with Taylor. Please make sure you like and subscribe to the Financial Potion YouTube channel to never miss an episode.